Hey, and welcome to the show. We sure have an amazing show, a doozy of a show for you today. The world needs your gift. The world needs your voice. Your message matters, your voice matters. And so the question that we're going to address today is how do you go about getting the message out that God has put on the inside of you? And on today's show, we have our special guest, Lisa Zakowski, is going to be joining us. And then we also have one of our Unlocking Your Book members who's going to be pitching her book. And we have some special surprises in store. But today, we have a how to go live plan for you. You're going to watch over our shoulder, and we're going to show you how to use content you already have, you've already written, that already exists, and clarify and make it simple. So today, stay tuned for your here's how to go live plan. It's going to be so simple to use this plan so that you can move the needle. Yeah, move the noodle. That's what we want to do. We're going to move the noodle. Just stay tuned while we all move the noodle together. Get ready. Here we go. be as big as Jesus. Never gonna build a promise. Are you guys ready? Here we go. It's going to be a great show. Yeah, we are moving the noodle today. In fact, that's the brand new. We have just completely revolutionized our whole brand. We're throwing everything out the window. Forget unlocking your book, messenger books. We are now going to teach people how to move noodles.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, come on. Was that not, that was just the coolest thing. Hey guys, we're going to move the noodle today.
Yep. Hey. And you know, that could be pasta or that could be the pool noodle. We'll find out. Stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here's what we have on today. We're going to be bringing Lisa Zukowski here in the next 30 seconds, so stay tuned. I'm actually going to refresh. We're having some broadcast problems here in the studio really quickly, but we're going to just take a quick break, bring Lisa Zukowski, but we're going to take one of my wife's, my lovely wife, Krissy Yancy, aka the boss, her War on Worry devotional. We're going to take that devotional and we're going to together go through it and share screen. And you're going to be able to see how you can create a simple going live plan by using content you've already developed. So stay tuned. Hold on, folks, just a minute. So we're moving noodles. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, everybody.
Lisa.
Yeah, we're having just a smidgen of technical difficulties. You know, that just seems to happen sometimes in this great wide world of internet and social media. So, hey, and here's what's cool, right? We're talking to you about how to go live. And here we are having our own little technical difficulties. Don't sweat. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna move the noodle anyway. Even so much that like our whole screen thing is totally like Lisa's at the bottom of the square or Lisa's at the top of the square versus. But hey, here's what's really important. Everybody if you are a fan of moving the noodle, raise your hand. Come on, let's move some noodles today.
Walker White Dorman wins comment of the day. She's a fan of both noodles. One makes her bloat and one helps her float.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
Walker heard my hilarious comment. Thank you, Walker. You touche. That was good.
All right. So like I suddenly feel like I'm on the wrong show because now I feel like this is like a girls only show. But you know, hey, anyway, let's do this. We have a very special guest today. And that very special guest, actually, you guys get ready because we have a teeny itty bitty little surprise. Has nothing to do with noodles. But Carrie's going to come on. She's got some question for us. She's an Unlocking Your Book publishing member, and we're going to bring her on. But before we do that, we want to take about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and talk about a simple going live plan. Now, Lisa is like, she's the brainiac of this kind of stuff. So we're collaborating today. And, you know, the idea here for a writer, for an author, is you have to create time and space for yourself.
Right.
So that you're not just constantly, I'm not a believer in the grind. I believe in hard work. I believe in discipline. And I think, and the Bible teaches us about discipline and hard work and excellence. But that grind where you suddenly are no longer just functioning from the call of God and you're no longer being voice led, spirit led, and God directed, and you're just grinding things out in your flesh and you're exhausted and you're still just trying to get things done, and you feel that burden and you lose the joy and you lose the grace, and you're no longer just doing this because you want to serve the Lord, you want to obey the Lord, and it just becomes this heavy, heavy thing. And so what we want to help you as a writer, as an author, we're encouraging you, use live video to move the noodles, to move the needle in your life. Right? That's in my next book, how to move the noodle in your life. The idea here is, even with live video, it can so quickly, like, oh my gosh, this is just another thing I have to do. And you feel this burden and you feel this weight and you feel this heaviness. That's not the idea here. There is the obedience factor, because you are a voice. As a writer, listen, you're not just some guy, some gal, in your room or your couch or your office or your den or whatever. You're just going to bang out this book. You're actually a messenger and a deliverer. You've been anointed to help move noodles. Sorry, I can't get it out of my head. It's just stuck. You've been anointed to move the needle in people's lives. It means you're called, like a deliverer, like Moses, to call them out of something and take them into something with your book, with your writing, with your message. And so the encouragement first is to shift your mindset from, and you ladies just chime in anytime here. The idea here is to not just have this mindset, or I'm just going to write this book, but you're answering the call to be a deliverer. You're answering the call to be a messenger. So look at your book and your writing and what you're putting out and what you're publishing as something that is going to take people out and take them in. Yeah. And you don't just want that message to sit on Amazon somewhere, or you don't just want, grandma and brother so-and-so to have on their bookshelf collecting dust. You want it to actually be able to impact the people. Right. That God has called you to. So we're encouraging you to use video. And I'm prepared. I'm going to let Lisa and I'm going to let Krissy jump in and chime in a little bit. But I'm going to do a screen share of one of my wife's documents and how you can use something you've already written, you've already created, so you can get out of that grind. You're supposed to be listening, hearing, writing, messaging. Listening, hearing, writing, messaging. And so this will be a very simple plan where you can take something you've already developed, you've already created, and repurposing that content. What are your thoughts on the noodles?
On the noodles. Yeah, no, I agree. We're throwing a lot of incredible information at you, tools and resources, but let them be just that. Let them be tools that you take and you put in your little toolbox of how you're going to unlock your book and launch into the messenger life. And then, that you don't let it become a burden. I get this. I relate to everything you're saying. And we as human beings and believers in Christ have to be so intentional with that, and let that moment where it becomes hustle and grind and a burden be a red flag to us that, whoa, and we may not even know what it is, other than, whoa, I need to pull back. And I need to get on my knees, and I need to get on my face, and I need to pray and allow the Lord to refresh you, because this does not need to be burdensome. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke." We're taking on his yoke on us in the messenger life, in the assignment of writing books and doing live video and all of this. This is his call, his mandate, his yoke that's easy and light for us to carry. And when we feel burdened, we go, wait a second. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to press pause, because there's some other yoke on me. It's usually your flesh. I'm raising my hand. It's my flesh. It's my own desires, my own hustle and grind that flares up. It just can. And so
the yoke, OMG.
But these things are, Yeah, and so you take the video, and if this is feeling like a burden and overwhelm, don't let it. Just go, I'm gonna sit like a sponge and take in what Lisa's going to unpack today, what they're gonna unpack, and I'm gonna soak it in as best as I can. I'm not gonna get my wheels turning on it. I'm just gonna soak in it as
Yeah.
a resource. I'm gonna put in my toolbox, and then you'll know, you'll make a plan, you'll write it down, the Lord will direct your steps, and you'll know when to pull that tool out, and you'll know where to reference when you need more information,
Yeah.
So enjoy the journey.
That's called overflow.
Yes.
When you yoke with Jesus, it's overflow, baby. You hit it right on the nail on the head. That's what we're trying to help you. And I know, and Lisa and I, we're like, we're marketing people. And so we get it. We're salespeople. We're marketing people. We're messaging people. We build funnels to help people take action, meaning get out your credit card and actually buy this book or buy this offer. That's what we do. But even in that, you don't take that training, you don't take those suggestions, you don't take even the best educated advice and allow it to unyoke you. Don't allow going live or the publishing of your book or your ebook and all of that to unyoke you with Jesus. Because I don't care if you have the absolute best marketing plan. I don't care if you have a massive budget. What is actually going to be worth it at the end of the day when it's all said and done is that you're yoked with Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's where that place of overflow comes. So as a writer, as an author, as you're listening to Lisa and myself and Krissy, and we're talking and we're sharing these things, that's the key. That even this plan, which I think is a good plan, it's going to move the noodle in your life. You want to stay yoked so that you function from overflow. Lisa, I know you got some thoughts. I know this is your message too. You believe this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe it and I get it mostly because I've been there and on the wrong end. And, you learn really quick, like, this is not fun, Yeah. And just to have that pressure on yourself. And really, I think what Jeremiah is about to unpack is going to be super incredible because I think we look at new things and think, I've never done this. And we look at, I'm already writing a book. This is a whole nother beast. And it isn't. It really isn't. It's just delivering the same thing that you've been working on in a different way. And, first of all, I think a lot of people say, well, I'm a writer, like I express myself best by writing, can I just write some posts? And the answer is that to me, first of all, you're a human being. And when we lose conversation, we lose the context and grid for that. And I think, we've probably emphasized more than 1 or 500 times that people want to connect with people, right? Like more than anything, people want to know the message of your life and like what's been produced out of your life and that you're a human being. And even if your book contains all of the tragedy in the world, they want to know the hope that came out of it. And so when they see you as a person that's thriving and smiling and writing a book and stepping into God's promises, that's when the connection is made. So I know a lot of people who are writers say like, well, can I just do my blog? And yes, you should be blogging, but again, on the lives, like what Jeremiah is going to show you and what we talked about, I think last week, is just because this is new and because there might be a little bit of nerve, that to totally like really reduce that is just plan it out, have an idea. Some of us are busy. I know for me as a mom, like it can be really easy to get out of like doing a live. I can have a ton of really, pretty good excuses like the kids are loud, this and that. I don't really know what I'm going to talk about today. But that does nothing for you. So if you have this plan, you really can just rest and have fun and have conversation. And it's when you get on live, you want to be able to deliver a clear message and not have this feeling of chaos and what do I say? And I don't know what to talk about. And did I already talk about this? Or, And so just by knowing that you've planned little nuggets, it kind of frees you up to know that, hey, I can just keep this video short because the next time I'm going to unpack the next nugget. I'm just really excited for what you're going to share, Jeremiah. It's just really practical. So you can see some of Teresa's content in her book, how to break it down in little pieces, how to schedule it. And you guys are just, they're making it so easy. Like, we're making this so easy for you guys that I know you're going to just, if you just will do it. And that's usually the bottom line with anything, right? Our fitness programs, our nutrition programs, like our treadmill can like sit. But if you get on it, it works.
It works.
It does?
It does. Better than just taking your clothes on it, which is great news.
That's an expensive clothes hanger.
I know it. Many have revolved in and out of our home before, so guilty as charged. But yeah, so just if you guys will do it, it will work. I promise you, it will work. It will work. It will work.
Yep. Well, let's do it. Let's dive right into this. Let me just zoom this up just a smidgen for you. Hopefully you can see this so this is just a simple. Now, if you are already an Unlocking Your Book member, you have probably seen quite a bit of this because I use Teresa's War on Worry 21-day devotional, and I use Krissy's Slaying the Giant of Fear book and campaign as case studies so that you can learn over our shoulder some things. Now, this is day 19 of her 21-day devotional. Each devotional is anywhere between 500 to 900 words. So you could actually, you as a writer and author, you're probably writing that at least every day. So what we're going to do is we're going to take content that's already been written. Now, rather than, and this is what a lot of writers do, a lot of authors, they get like the spirit of overwhelm. And the reason is because you just ran that marathon. You trained for the marathon. Like we've talked about this so many times. Writing a book is like this moment. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. This is out of this world. This is so untouchable. I can never write a book. I could never run a marathon. And then you just settle it one day that you're going to run that marathon. And then you realize you need a plan if you're going to be able to actually finish the marathon. And really, running coaches, my wife actually has done this because she's ran a marathon and she's written a book, but she's also done some coaching for people that they're like, I want to run a marathon, but man, it seems so overwhelming. And so how you run a marathon is you first have to have the vision to run the marathon. I'm going to do it. So you have to have the vision. And then second, you have to have the commitment. I'm going to do what it's going to take. And the commitment is to the vision and then the plan. And so what a running coach does is they give you a plan that is systematic, that starts you off just walking if you've never ran before. Walking, then jogging, and then you're running a block, then you're running half a mile, then it's a couple miles, and it's this whole system. And running coaches can take almost anyone that has a vision and a commitment within 4 to 6 months can run a marathon. And just before you're like, that's impossible. And most of you probably, and actually I have no vision to run a marathon, so I don't even want to, so forget it. I don't want the plan. But if you wanted to run a marathon, you would have the vision, you would have the commitment, and then you get a running coach that's going to help you create some kind of a plan. And there's plans on YouTube and Google and all that kind of stuff. Right. So you take that plan, and if you follow the plan, guess what? On race day, you can do it because it's called conditioning. You've actually conditioned your body that you thought, and you don't even have to be an athlete. Maybe you never played sports at all, but you have the vision to do it. And what the running coach teaches you and trains you is to condition your body so that you can run over 26 miles. That doesn't even sound fun to me. But anyway, that's not the point. That's how writing a book feels sometimes. It feels like this big, huge, massive thing, and it is hard work. But if you have a vision and you have a commitment, and you do have coaches, we're staring at you right now. We're your coaches. Hello. And we have more coaches. You have a whole bunch of coaches. And we've given you this plan. So now here is something to move from the overwhelm of trying to go live and trying to market your business and market your, if you're a writer, you have a business, market your book and market the message and get it out, to get the message out so you can actually move the noodle in people's lives. So all we're doing is we're taking day 19 of War on Worry. And all we're going to do is we're just going to go through it first. First thing I'm going to do, and if you followed her 21-day devotional, you actually had access to the PDF for this. So I'm going to look at the word count. So the word count is 816 words. So here's my question. Question number 1. Do you have 816 words? Yeah, absolutely. Surely by now, even if you're just getting started, at the very least, you have this much. You surely have anywhere between 500 to 1,000 words. And this 500 to 1,000 words could probably keep you pretty busy on Facebook Live, probably for weeks, maybe even for a month. But let's go through it and see how simple it is. Now, if you've done any of the modules, you've seen me go through one day of a devotional and then curate and splinter that content and turn it into 20, 30 days worth of one-liners and inspirational graphics. So rather than, oh my gosh, I just ran the marathon, and then feeling like, oh my gosh, I got to run another one. Your body actually needs, this is the way your body's designed. You can't just turn right back around and go spend yourself like that again. Your body won't allow you to do that because your body needs to rest and it needs to recoup and it needs to recover. Yeah. It's the same thing with writing. You're writing, you are expending mental calories, spiritual calories. And as you're doing that, you need to recover. You need to rest. So you don't have to make this a big thing. You just go back to content you've already created, and now you're going to repurpose it. And today we're only talking about 816 words. So we could just go through this together. So the title of day 19, we'll close out here in just a few minutes. Day 19, War on Worry. The title of this devotional today is Worry Adds Nothing But Actually Subtracts. So now I am not suggesting, this would not be wise. I don't think you should just read this. That's not the idea here. But you've written the content, so you know the content. But you can start with just this one takeaway. That's a takeaway. Worry adds nothing but actually subtracts. So what could this be? This could be the headline that you put in. You're getting ready to go live today or tomorrow, whatever. You say, hey guys, I'm going live in 5. I'm going live tomorrow at 6 p.m., whatever it may be, to talk about how worry adds nothing to your life, but actually subtracts. And then you could give the scripture. So right here, you don't even have to think about it again. You've already created the content, and right there you have your headline and your call to action, and you're actually opening up a loop for people. We've talked about on this show, if you want people to engage, you have to open a loop, get them to come back in and engage so you can close the loop. Yeah. So what's going to happen is anybody that's really dealing with worry or is feeling like worry is subtracting from their life, and they see this scripture about why would you worry about God's care for you, this is going to open a loop and cause people to engage. And the cool thing about it is you don't have to sit there and think, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to add for my headline? You've already got it. It's right there. It's already done. Yeah. And then I'll just break this down. So that could potentially be your headline and your call to action. And then if we go down in here, she has written 6 specific ways, if you can see this, 6 specific ways that worry subtracts from your life. You now would have 6 Facebook Lives. If this was your book or your devotional, again, we're only talking 816 words. So you could do a mini series, you could do micro lessons, and you could plan out the next 6 Facebook Lives. Maybe you do one a week. Maybe you do a full 30-minute lesson. Maybe you do just 10 minutes, at least 3. You need to do at least 3, but I know most of you guys, once you get going, you're going to keep going, right? And that's cool. That's so good. Yeah. But you have right here, you could just, here's worry steals your joy. And this is what you're going to talk about. This is like your starting place. This gets you moving. This gets people engaged. And all you have to do is just take the content that you already have, and for the next 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, talk about how worry steals your joy. And then in the next one, because you're building something, you talk about, hey, today I'm going to talk about how worry steals your thankfulness. And you exhaust it and you talk about it. You talk about your book. You talk about the testimonies. You talk about your own story. And then Facebook Live number 3, worry steals the moment. And so now what you're doing is you're actually taking people through this process, and what's happening to them is they're getting aha moments. They're actually on the inside, they're like, wow, I never saw that. They have an encounter with the Lord. You're activating them right there. You're moving the noodle for them right there on Facebook Live. And all you're doing is using content that you've already written. You already trained for the marathon. You already ran the marathon. You already wrote the book. And maybe you are writing the book. You're in the process. Even if you have one chapter, you have this. You already have this in your book. And you could systematically take people through worry adds nothing, but actually subtracts. Hey, maybe even after you got done, here's another thought. You get done with those 6 Facebook Lives, you could actually repurpose those and turn it into a digital course and give it away as a bonus when they pre-order your book. And all you're doing is taking 816 words. So I just thought, and let's talk about this a little bit, Lisa and Krissy, your thoughts on this. The whole idea is you don't have to create something new. Now, if this God's Spirit just falls on you and he puts something and he drops something in you, absolutely do that. And you'll have those moments. And doing these kinds of lessons, it'll get that creativity going and responding to the Lord. But you could keep it so simple. Hey guys, I'm going to do the next, for the next week, I'm going to teach 6 lessons, 6 specific ways on how worry adds nothing to your life, but actually subtracts. And then boom, day 1, worry steals your joy. Day 2, worry steals your thankfulness, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is helpful. This is so helpful. I remember looking through my first book and going, I wouldn't even know where to start now, taking this and turning it into even a teaching or a video, or how do I even pull sermons out of this? It's wild how overwhelming some of that can be. So when we're talking live video and the how to pull content from what you've already written and turn it into live video, this is so helpful because you're not reading word for word. This unlocks creativity in people to say, you can pull just even a couple sentences, a few thoughts from the first paragraph in the first chapter of your book, and you can go live with that. And then you can even add to that just off the cuff, off the top of your head. For someone like me, that's really helpful. I can be a little bit literal when it comes to this kind of stuff. I literally think I need to take what's written in my book in order to be true to the message of the book and regurgitate that in a live. So anybody else like watching where you're like, this is revelatory, this is so helpful.
Yeah, it's good. And the thing is too, is the great thing. And I just thought this was worth mentioning because I think a lot of times we can lose context for structure. And when we get revelation, I think it really frees us up to actually like abide by that, because people who just like to have fun and are free spirited are kind of like, meh. But when you try to do things, when you're going to the next level and you're really trying to do serious things for the Lord, he is about excellence. So consider, when we have our merging of the people who are very spirit-led, And they're like, I'll follow the Spirit of the Lord, which is great. But the Lord also does honor structure, so much so. Somebody shared this with me, and I was like mind blown for like a week. That structure matters so much to God that when Jesus died, he was crucified, not one bone in his body was broken. And that was prophesied from the beginning. And I never thought about that in a structural sense, that his framework, his structure, and I don't think that revelation totally full embodies the whole point, but it does connect and it does matter. And so structure, form, the way that God does create, it does matter. And so for those of you who like to live by the Holy Spirit, and I am 100% for that, because I'll talk about that in just a second. In the same way, if you can leave space for that, you can follow your book, have the structure part, and then that clears you. If the Holy Spirit puts another topic on your heart, or there's so many current events happening right now that if you have revelation or a desire to jump on and talk about that too, you can. So when you have this stuff scheduled, it really clears you to make sure that your audience is tracking with you about your book, number one, because that is the goal. So you need that to happen. If you're all over the place with your topics, you won't meet the goal of drawing people into the message of your book. So get the structure, get the framework. If it's boring to you to follow structure, just get that part done so you can have fun. And when, like for me, I know we all have different places, whether we're driving, in the shower, whatever, where we hear from the Lord. And a lot of times I will hear from him in a Facebook Live topic. Like it'll just be a topic and I'll hear from him and I'll jump on and, follow him in that way. And so also, when that happens, I would suggest to follow his obedience and be obedient and not worry about, well, does this tie into my book? Or, also don't get so stuck into the structure that when the Lord speaks to you to hop on live to talk about something, he will work it into whatever your audience needs at that time. So just stay within, and I know this is kind of an overall message to believers, is that we have the word and we have the Spirit, and we, need to stay within the balance of the merging of both of those. So we're not all over the place, or we're not so rigid that we can't flow with the Holy Spirit. So this definitely applies where we have our book, we have our content, that's planned, that's done. And then when we have the desire or the Spirit moves for us to flow and open up on Facebook Live, then we don't have the pressure of worrying about, did I check off the to-dos? I hope that applies. I don't get to talk to the secular audience, book people about this stuff very much because the analogies don't apply, but it is important because I think believers sometimes need that further biblical context and that understanding to see how, when social media and marketing feels very secular sometimes, although I don't think it is. I won't go on that rant. But sometimes people feel like it's very secular, and so they need that little breakthrough in their head to understand how the Spirit and truth and how, structure and fluidity, however you want to say it, how they can work together to have just like a really great vibe on social media.
Yeah. Here's that's brilliant, Lisa. And we could easily get into this little bunny trail, and I won't, but to help bring some context for those of you that you worry, or you're overly concerned about using social media or using something that, quite frankly, maybe you don't necessarily agree with. And I'll give you an example, like Halloween, where Christians and churches, and I know where I stand with Halloween, we don't participate in all this, that, and the other. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you hand out candy, maybe you dress up. I don't know.
Right.
I know what my personal convictions are and what we've done our entire life and how we've raised our children. But the idea here is not to also do what sometimes we've done as the church, and I've done this, is to shut off all the lights, lock the door, pull the drapes, and go hide in the back room so that when they come knocking on the door, you don't have to participate because you're worried about the boogeyman getting into your house. Well,
right.
There's no monsters in my house, and they're not allowed. And if they were, then we'd cast them out. But anyway, my point is this: you need to think of, and okay, now here's a shift. Some churches, some believers, what did they start to do? They started using this as an opportunity for outreach, to go shine a light, or they would do like, they call them hell houses or different things like that, creatively using something to go out and touch and reach people. And whatever your values or whatever your beliefs is, that's not what we're trying to tackle today. But my encouragement and my challenge for you would be to think about being a messenger missionary. So it used to be, 20 years ago, if you wanted to be a missionary in India or Pakistan or the Congo or Russia or the US, or you wanted to be a missionary in Florida or Texas or wherever God would send you, you literally had to pack up, save this money, have support, go to those nations, and then embed yourself into the culture, maybe learn the language, learn how to sleep under a mosquito net, and all these different types of things to bring the gospel.
Right.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the social media, they're nations. Yep. And so you just shift your mindset and your thought process. Instead of looking at it as just this negative worldly thing, look at it as a platform where you can be a missionary and you could reach a lot of people on social media.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say so the average church in the US, well, right now it's kind of small, but the average church in the United States is like 75, 80 people. That's the average. You could reach a lot of people on social. You could reach hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people. So you could look at Facebook as a mission field. You can look at Facebook as a nation and God calling you. So you have to shift your mindset. You have to shift the way that you think and you look about something like this and look at it as like, oh my gosh, God has called me to reach this nation, reach this country, this people group, this demographic, this psychographic, these hurting moms, these hurting dads, these hurting people, whatever it may be. And you can use it, and it's quicker, it's faster, it's safer, and less expensive, to be quite honest with you. So you can really use the message, and you can treat Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all of that as a nation to get the message out and reach the people that you're called to reach. And if God tells you to go to Congo, go to Congo. But if he doesn't tell you to go to Congo and you need to get the message out, and you need to move the noodle, then look at Facebook as a nation that God has called you to and go shine there.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, there are a couple questions people that I think are really important, because this is a really common thing is people ask is, how do I know how much content to give away for free without like losing context of the book? And people are like, all right, I have consumed all of your content. I don't need to buy your book. And I think that's a pretty common concern where people kind of like withhold content, and so they're getting out like these squeaky like little quote graphics that like hardly say anything, and they're like, I'm only giving you a little bit. So here's the thing is, understand that there are algorithms that exist in dispersing your content, and your audience is not on social media 24/7. They have other people that they follow. So first of all, from a logistics standpoint, it's not possible that every person in your audience is seeing all of your content all of the time, unless they've really caught hold of your message and they're looking for you and they're waiting for your content and they're searching it out. So there will be some of those people. And, like Jeremiah said, you can literally take a devotional, take all the points, all the lives, and then sell it, because people need it packaged in one. They want it packaged in one. We're lazy. We don't want to go and find all these Facebook lives, take our notes from each one. That's just one thing. But I do think if you have the mindset of overflow, like Jeremiah said, and you are a giver, that when it's time for you to make the ask, there's this great book by a secular person called Jab, 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 Right Hook, which is basically the same thing as reaping and sowing. You give. And when it's time for you to ask and the time for you to reap, you have already given so much value to people that they're like, I definitely want this book, where you've given. And if you're just so selective about what you're talking about in a message sense, and you can really grab a hold of delivering your content as helping people, you will have no concern how much free content you've given. You've literally just a sentence out of your book every single day. And I don't suggest doing that, but I do promise you that if your heart and if it's not, if you don't let yourself get into this like selling the book thing. It's not hard to do. I get that. But if you have the context of, I want to help people, ask the Lord, like, help me help people. That will come off in social media. People will feel, and I feel this all the time with the UYB folks, is that y'all want to help people. You are a business, but your goal is to help people, and your call is to help people. And so when it comes time for people to, join the course or whatever, people of course are willing, because they've discerned your heart. They know that you're both prepared, equipped, and ready to help them get to the next level. So it makes sense to sow into the things that are going to help them. So I hope that's helpful as far as what content, and then, you don't have to stress so much about, giving away your content, but that's a common thing. So don't feel bad if that was something that you're thinking about.
Yeah, I agree. That is a common question. A lot of people think about that, and you can't overdo it. You really can't overdo giving away the value. In fact, I'll even go as far as, you can't even overdo just giving the book away. I'm going to go that far. You could write your first book and give the whole thing away just to build an audience, to build rapport with people. People will appreciate the value. And we're not, we don't want tire kickers and, low ballers and all this kind of stuff. We're not looking for that. We're talking about people that, they want the value that you offer. And we say this all the time: if you solve a problem for somebody, they'll come back when they're to buy those products. So don't worry about giving away too much value. I would overdo it in that category.
Yeah, because you're doing it in a different way, and so it's even being received uniquely because you're vocalizing the message. So I had the same question. I thought, why would they want to buy the book? Why would they need the book, whether they buy it or not? Why do they need the book if I'm delivering this to them verbally? So you wonder, how much should you do? But all that's going to do, no matter how much because you're not reading it word for word. That's the thing. Since you're not reading it word for word, and you're taking parts of it, and then you're sharing from the heart, from these bullet points that you pull, the folks are just going to want your book all the more, because they're going to feel like you've given them so much from it. They're just that'll make them do the opposite than what you're worrying about. They're going to want to go get it, because they're going to want to read for themselves, and they're going to want to see in the full context and the whole start to finish. So.
Totally.
And even the thing that we talked about, aside from convincing, is just simple awareness. If you're not putting stuff out there, people don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what you have to offer. So it's not about like a big sell and being, so convincing about all the amazing content. It's just dripping it out there, putting it out there, and letting them know that it exists, and they'll come. So
I'd almost dare say it's more for you. It's more for your own benefit. It's for the benefit of those that are hearing. Yes, absolutely. But it's for the benefit of you really getting so clear on what it is that you carry, and you're getting it out. And I'm almost convicted when I say this, because I don't do it enough myself. But Jeremiah's like, yeah, I know. But you're doing that and growing in the message and stewarding the message that God's given to you in that process. And then the cherry on top is that people are watching and getting blessed. So
Absolutely. Well, I hope that was helpful, everyone, as we got the chance to just dive in a little bit on a simple going live plan and using content that you already have. You saw us go through 816 words, a 1-day devotional, and you could take that and that can become one-liners, inspirational graphics. You can schedule those those one-liners and inspirational graphics. It can be your Facebook plan for an entire week, for an entire month. It could be for a quarter, and then you could even turn those one individual key takeaways. You can turn those into like a course. And so just think about using the content you already have that already exists. And so thank you so much, Lisa. Really appreciate your time as always. And we're getting ready to start our official video lesson. So here we go. Rub-a-dub-dub. Thanks again, Lisa. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys.
Take care. Cool. And guys, here's what's coming up next is we've got Carrie who's coming on. She's going to be joining us here in the next 30 seconds. She's coming on and we are going to be diving into her book. So stay tuned. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Hello. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
We are splendid. We're moving noodles over here.
Gotta love those cool noodles. They're the best ones.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely. Hey, I hate to be rude, but isn't today like your birthday? I think today's your birthday. Okay, so
happy birthday.
So lucky you. I don't think you realize what you were doing when you signed up to be on here. Like, talk about being vulnerable. I mean, I could pull out so many things right now that I won't because I will probably get in. My wife will be like, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. But we do. Myself, Krissy, Teresa, the whole Unlocking Your Book crew, and everyone on the whole World Wide Web right now just want to wish you a very happy birthday, Carrie. So a round of applause for making it this far. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I wish we had some coffee and donuts or whatever, maybe some noodles. Noodles would be nice right about now.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting. Well, for me, being an Aussie, it was actually yesterday. So we rolled into the 29th already. It's after 4 o'clock in the morning. But
wow.
Yes, I had a really beautiful birthday. Thank you. My kids spoiled me. It was beautiful.
Oh,
good,
so you get to celebrate twice because you're popping on live here in the US where it's still the 28th. And so
I'll take an extended birthday.
Well, I see that what'd you say?
I said time travel.
Time travel, yes. So funny. So I see that you have a question for us today. And so I'm just going to read your question that you sent in, and then I'll let you, add anything to that you would like to add. But you are asking, I'd like to know more about email lists. How do you increase your contacts on an email list when you're starting from zero? And what content should we be emailing out and how often?
Good.
That's it. That's it.
That's a $1 billion question right there. So happy birthday. And we're going to answer that question. So there are a lot of different ways that you can start building your email list, but it all boils down to really what we're talking about. We have been for the last 50 minutes of the show about connecting with people and putting value into their hands and their eyeballs and their mind and to their spirit and their heart. So ultimately, the way people feel is people feel just like we do, in that they are willing to enter into some kind of a commitment and a transaction. While it might not be a financial transaction just yet, it's still a transaction when somebody says, I'm going to give you my name and my email in exchange for something. And so what we like to tell people is make sure that while it may not be a financial transaction, it is something that has enough value that people would be willing to pay for it, even if it was just $5 or $10 or $20. And actually, that's a great way, like we talked about this earlier, to build your email list is by creating something of value that you can deliver and give to them in exchange as if it was a financial transaction. But in this case, they're making a commitment just based on their curiosity. That's stage number one. That's step number one, is they're curious about your content. They're curious about your message. They're curious about what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're connecting. That's step number one. If you want them to go to the commitment, then it's where there's this exchange of value. You're giving them something of value, and they're giving you something of value, meaning their name and their email. So then this can be done with an ebook, and we've almost exhausted that. That could be Facebook Lives. It could be a digital course. It could be the first chapter of your book. It could be a private Facebook group. So you can be super, super creative about that. But I really think that whatever that thing of value that you're going to give people is connected to the outcome of where you're taking them. So for example, if it was your book and your book is, it's 30, 40, 50,000 word book, then it's somehow curated and splintered from that book. It could be a chapter. It could be a devotional. It could be an ebook from that book, but somehow it's connected to the same content, so that as people are transacting with you, giving their name, giving their email, and you're giving them something of value, it's connected to the message where you are planning to take them, where you are planning to offer that digital course, offer that community, offer that book, whatever it is, that somehow, some way it's connected. And then there's the logistical part, and we'll dive into some of the logistics for you as far as like what you're actually doing, what you're actually offering. Then there's the logistical part. And since I'm in sales and marketing and all of that, essentially what you're looking for is you want to create some kind of a funnel. We hear that used in marketing, and all that means is that it's the curiosity. So a funnel, we think a funnel like this, but it's people are getting curious and becoming aware of who you are and the problem that you solve in their life. And even in writing a book, you're solving a problem somehow, some way. You're taking them out and taking them into. There's a before state and an after state. So that funnel can be an ebook page. It can be a sales page, a pre-order page. It could be a blog. It could be Facebook Lives that you're doing on a regular basis. But somehow, some way, you're giving value. They're giving you contact information with the name and an email. Sometimes you can even do, a phone number if you're going to do text-based marketing. But basically, then they go into this process. But once they go into that funnel with you and you've connected with them, then you have to nurture that relationship. So first they're curious, and then they commit. And once they make that commitment, then you got to nurture. You have to nurture that relationship. You want to think of it kind of like, being a mom. You want to think of it like being a pastor. You're shepherding, you're overseeing, you're parenting and discipling that relationship so that it can become all that it could potentially become. So that's ultimately the goal. You're taking people through that process of where they are curious, they're aware, and then they commit, and then you nurture them through that process.
Okay. That makes sense. That's really good. Thank you. Yep.
What is your thought and your plan? What do you plan to do with your content?
I'm really keen to put together a mini e-course. I've got the ebook I've written my book kind of back to front to what we all learnt in the training, but I started with little snippets by doing similar to a devotional. From that, it developed into an ebook. From the ebook, I'm building my book. But prior to all that, I did like a Facebook Live challenge for a week. That was towards the end of last year, because I was just wanting to, it was like it was busting out of me, and I just wanted to see what people would think. Had a little group that started with 40 people who all connected on every morning, and so just did Facebook Lives every morning with the content that I had, and that took off so well that that's what just started the momentum for everything else. But the feedback I got was that there was so much content that it was too much to consume. So I wanted to break it all down and do a couple of little mini e-courses, and create that as a way to get out to anybody who was watching, anybody who wanted to know, so I could build a relationship with them that way, and from there continue on.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit. So some of the feedback that you got is that it was too much content. Yeah. So talk about that, because that's number one. If people are giving you that feedback, that's good. That means they actually like what you have, and that's normal. People can easily, quickly feel overwhelmed. So what was the content that you were giving them, and how were you delivering that content specifically?
Facebook Lives that I was doing in a little private Facebook group. I'd jump on about 6 o'clock in the morning and just go with, I had broken down my thoughts into 5 or 6 days worth of content that I wanted to share. We were talking about overcoming the mind ambush, when the enemy comes in to ambush you, and what it looks like to set up healthy ways of coping with that. And to be honest, I hadn't really spoken it out much other than with friends. So it was like this pent-up flood that got released. And so they got everything. I had no structure to it at all. I just had an idea of what I wanted to talk about. I got on live and I just let it all out and it would be about 15 to 20 minutes worth of video, and with heaps of information, but I hadn't at that point put together like little homework sheets or little sheets of PDFs that they could have downloaded to then take away and work through. So I was aware of that, though. I was just going with Holy Spirit and how I work, and I knew that I just needed to get it out of me so that I could start writing it down, so I could get some feedback for myself, because I didn't know if this was something that people actually wanted to know about. Turns out they did, which got me a bit excited. So it was like, okay, I need to do this a bit better, and it just all kind of grew from there. So, and then now I'm writing a book about it. So it was fun to do, but the feedback was great. I had great feedback throughout the whole thing, with a lot of the girls saying, yeah, I want to know more, or how do you do that, or that's excellent, so it was really, really helpful, and really helped me build my courage to continue on. So it's been great. Yeah.
So Carrie, what's the desire of your heart? Like, what do you want to do? What has God put in your heart to actually do?
My heart is to raise up, probably in particular women who have been in a similar situation to me, where they've just been bombarded with noise. I struggled quite a bit with depression and anxiety and fear in my life, as God was encouraging me, kind of, come on, Kiri-Ann, I want to show you a better way of living. I went through quite a horrendous divorce and best friend rejection and all that sort of fun stuff, as I learnt to discover that I actually had value, and that what I had to say was worth speaking. And so I know that there are a lot of women out there who are in the same boat as me, who've experienced that and don't quite understand why they keep getting bombarded with the noise in their head. What's going on? Why is that happening? It's just becomes too much. And I just want to give them the steps of, it can be actually quite freeing to know what God is actually doing in your journey and why the noise is coming against you. There's actually quite an amazing tool that you can use to overcome that noise and be really confident in who you are. And so I want to teach women how to do that, because we are really powerful when we know the truth that we are powerful. And then we've got an amazing legacy that's coming behind of us, for those of us that have kids, or if we are aunties and uncles, or, you know, grandparents, or whatever it looks like. We have a legacy who wants to know that we are powerful. So I want to teach that to us.
Right. That's good. That's awesome. What are you feeling in the way that you want to deliver it? So obviously you're writing a book, you've got an ebook, you've got things that you're putting together. What are some of the other ways that you want to lead and you want to teach and you want to help these people that you're called to? Do you see a community? Do you see another Facebook group? Do you see courses? How do you want to, even outside of a book or ebook, do you want to make those connections? Or at this point, are you just focused on the book and the ebook?
I'm very much keeping my focus on the book, just really want to get the book finished.
Good.
So I find that I can get very easily distracted and quite happy to go off and do videos and do other things, but not actually be moving forward successfully, or that's probably not the word, but moving forward in a way that's actually continuing to build the momentum that I'm looking for. So I have just buckled down a bit and just gone, I just really have to get as much of my book done as possible and then step out a little bit more. That's why I'm asking about email lists now, because I want to start thinking about it, planning ahead. What does that look like? What sort of content am I putting into that? Because I'm not a big email reader myself. I am setting myself free from dyslexia with the Lord, so words, and I get quite overwhelmed, especially with emails, so I tend to avoid them, but I want to overcome that. But in the process of that, I just really want to build a community. I really want to have an opportunity to do training videos and courses. I want to expand that out to do conferences. I would just love to really impact women on a major scale as much as in little small groups. I see the value of doing little small groups, like little Zoom meetings and things where you can have one-on-ones, or 10 women together where you can pull things apart and just really get into the personal side of the story, as much as I really believe in, you know, speaking in larger events and things like that. So I have a beautiful community already, but I really want to value them even more, and so more into them. So I want to, I got lots of big dreams, happy to go as far as God will take me. So
Carrie, you're going to do those things. You're going to walk in those dreams. You're going to fulfill those dreams. That desire is the desire that God has put on the inside of you. And, you know, the scripture says, you know, he'll give us the desire of our heart. And that doesn't mean he's just going to give us what we desire. It means he puts that desire. And so he's wired you for this. He's wired you for community. He's wired you to lead. He's wired you to speak and to teach and encourage and to shepherd and pastor, you know, this group, these people. So you're going to do those things. And I think you are using wisdom. I really like your focus. I think that what you're doing right now is your book is really going to be the content. And so it can scale into community. It can scale into Facebook Lives. It can scale into courses. It can scale into other types of things that can be monetized or offered and things that you can do. But I think you are right where you need to be. So as you finish your book and then you move into, since you're a member, obviously, you're going to have the ebook option. So the ebook training, the ebook landing page, you'll have the blog page, you'll have the pre-order, you have all of these different pages. And the ebook, if you do the ebook, that will help you collect those leads and be able to nurture those relationships. But I can almost see, as you finish the ebook and you finish the book and you get it published, you're curating the content. You're doing Facebook Lives, and you're doing posts and one-liners and all of those different things. And you're getting the message out, creating the curiosity, getting people to commit and go to the next level with you. And then when the book is finished, you can start moving into some of those other things where you have a course, you have a Facebook group, you have these breakout sessions, you do these communities, you do coffee and prayer night, all these different things that you feel led to do, really just to nurture and build those relationships. And I can tell that that's natural for you. That just comes very natural for you to speak live and to speak encouragement and to help those people. That's not something you have to, you don't have to struggle with that. So I think you're right on course. I even right now, I wouldn't be worried too much about collecting those emails. This is the stage that I could see for you. So have you finished the ebook, or you're just or you're getting close to?
Ebook's finished, and about halfway through, just past halfway, I think, of my book. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually, when I do the ebook training, I actually want, in the very first lesson, I want people to kind of navigate and judge and see where are you at in the process. And I actually, in lesson 1 of the ebook training, I tell folks, hey, if you're right smack dab in the middle of writing your book, you're halfway through, finish it and then come back to the ebook, because the ebook can quickly become a distraction because there's some technical things and there's going to be new things. And so all of a sudden, you're writing your book and you're on chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and then boom, the ebook training pops up. You're like, oh, I'll go do that. And then you stop this flow and this process. And then you go spend the next 2, 3, 4 weeks working on this ebook and putting the pages together. And you're like, oh, this is new. And so, I can see this process wherever you're at. You finish the book and then you come back to that ebook and throw up that landing page. And by then it's going to be a really nice timeline, and start collecting those leads, and then move right back into where you want to go, doing the Facebook Lives, doing the groups, doing these breakout sessions, and you're just going to have a nice system. And you're also, even the ebook, that's not the only way that you'll collect leads. There will be other ways that you'll be collecting emails and building your email list. And there's kind of a tipping point per se when it comes to building your audience. It's kind of weird. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of like if you can get 10 people to 100. So if you can get 10 people to take action, that means there's something valuable and you can scale it. You might have to change messaging. You might have to change a few things, but then that means over time, I definitely can get to 100, and 100 is the next tipping point. And I tell people, listen, if you can get 100 people to take action, that means there's probably just a couple of objections that you have to overcome with people so that the message is more clear and they have to take action to get you to the next tipping point, which is 1,000. And if you can do 1,000 of anything, even if it's rubber bands or ebooks, then you really are off to the races. So that would be, we're all cheering for you. Definitely see it on you. You are going to do this. You're going to finish the book. You're going to publish the book. You're going to build that list, and you're going to help the women. You're going to help the people that are in your heart to help.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's so cool. And I did watch the first video of your training, and I heard you say that, and I went, I'm not watching anymore. I stopped it right at that point and went, I'm not going there. I'm going back to my book.
Good,
so I was listening very intently. I've been paying attention.
Good. That's really good. And I get it. It can be a distraction really quickly, but you're really powerful when you focus, and it'll help you. It'll help you. So was that helpful with the question that you had today?
It is. It's really helpful. I just, if I can start thinking about it in the background and get my head around what's to come, I feel better prepared. And I know that I can get back into my book, but know that I'm heading in that direction. So, it's exciting. There's so many things that we can do with this, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to scaling my products. I'm looking forward to connecting with people, building relationship, taking what God has planted in me and just letting it all out for others so they can be set free too. So, I mean, how good is that? That's what it's all about, hey, setting the captives free.
That's right. That's right. And I want to give Krissy just a chance to speak into your life here. And the last thing that I'll say is to start from the end of where you want to go and work your way backward. So what that looks like, what that feels like. So, if that's the events and conferences and meetings and things of that nature, start there and work your way back on how you're going to be able to scale to go to those next steps. Start from the end and work your way back to the beginning. Krissy, did you have some things to add there?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My computer was just deciding to freak out on me, but I was able to hear your heart and what you were sharing. And I know that you had the best person to answer your question. That core question was Mr. Jeremiah Yancy there. So hooray for that, that he didn't have technical issues. But I want to just encourage you with, on a heart level, and it's clear you're passionate about what you have, what God has given you and what you're doing, and keep that. Never, just keep running from that place of passion, and everything that you do for the Lord, not only will it happen, all the dreams, the visions, the plans, but you'll make such a deep impact on people and on their lives, and see that transformation that you so desire to see in these women. I heard you say you feel really called to women. You'll see that, because we need to see people who are so on fire, so passionate, so full of Jesus leading us and cheering us on, and you have that, and you just have it in spades. So good, well done. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. Yeah. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carrie. Happy birthday to you. The crowd goes, wow. Hey, we love you. Thanks for being on here.
Carrie.
God bless.
Thank you.